it's not a legacy. Pop culture still exists, still a living thing, so it's just ongoing relationship. Obviously I'm not young anymore, clearly, so I don't listen to pop music as much. But I started out really by accident, because I had no, I was meant to be an art historian. I was meant to work in an auction house or a museum, but mentally I'm not equipped to do this. And so it became clear that I was better. To me, it became clear that I could do other things, but I wasn't sure if it was art. And the Warhol thing, that was just by accident, almost again by accident. I met him, and I was still at university, so I was very young, but it was very important to experience that. So really, I shouldn't really be here. That's the answer. I should be working in a museum or something like that, but it didn't happen. Pop, of course it is. It's one of the great art forms of the 20th century. Popular music, pop music and rock and roll. It's absolutely, it's without dispute. It's as important as cinema. So yeah, that's what I believe, because I grew up with it, maybe in a really good moment. So I experienced that, and so I have no doubt that it's an art form. It's not art, but it's an art form. Sometimes it's art, but it's definitely equal to cinema. There was no influence.
Yeah.
They were doing something very different. They had networks, you know, they'd been to university, they knew people. I had no networks really, so that's why I did an exhibition in my parents' house, because it was a space I knew I could get for free when they went on holiday. I didn't tell them, but it was that's how I worked initially, because I didn't really have much support. So it was really it was at the same time as those people, and I know them all and hung out with them, but they were much better developed as artists and much clearer about their careers than I was. I'm okay now. It's okay now because I know what I'm doing, but initially I didn't really know what was happening. Basically, working with the brass band was a revelation. Before then, I just worked by myself, and then I made a phone call, because I had this idea for the band to play this music. So I made a phone call, and when the guy in the band said, "Yeah, we'll do this," that made me realise that actually you could work with the public quite easily. They're quite keen to work with artists, and I realised it wasn't that difficult if you had the right idea. And it meant I didn't have to keep on making objects and try and be a traditional artist. I could just do what I liked. So I was very excited by that. So really the brass band is a very important moment for me. I think about the spectator often, because the spectator is a participant sometimes, which is really great. And even if I do an exhibition like this, I find it very interesting looking at people looking at my work. Hopefully looking at my work rather than walking away from it. So that's always interesting for me, to see how people react. So yes, I do think about that and about the reception of work. I'm not that interested in critical reception. I'm much more interested in more generalized reception of the public, I would call it. So for example, the Stonehenge, the inflatable Stonehenge, have you seen that? It's in the film. That had a huge public reception, massive, but it had no critical reception, which is absolutely correct in a way. So I'm just interested in that. I'm interested in how the public interact with art or performance or whatever. It's become a mythological event. The strike obviously very quickly becomes written into history as one of the great struggles of the labour movement. Obviously, the left does that a lot, but it was a real thing. I was interested in revisiting it and making a piece of performance art out of a political event, a violent event, seeing if it was possible to make a large-scale performance piece in the way that I knew that only art could achieve this. no one else would be able to do this apart from an artist. So it had to happen through art, but that happened on that scale. But I wasn't really, the reenactment wasn't particularly accurate, but it was just a gesture about something, about commemorating something, but also looking at it again. I didn't have like a set goal at the end of like, I want to change the government or government policy. I just wanted it to happen. The achievement was it happening. What people make of it afterwards is up to them. I can't control that. But just the achievement of it existing and doing it was what's important. The whole point about the reenactment was to make people think about the event, the original event again, to jog their memory. It was like going back to a crime scene and looking at the crime again and thinking about it and talking about it. So it's definitely there for a purpose. It was a trigger. Not everybody in the reenactment was originally part of it. Not all, but a lot, hundreds of people were, and that was important. So you had original battle veterans, soldiers were part of it. Again, you know, if you think of it as a war of sense, civil war, then yes, that was a very important point. And a lot of the other people were people that at weekends dress as soldiers and make battles from history. So it was important for them as well to make a battle from British history. That's the whole point for me, was to make a reenactment of a recent political battle, not something from Napoleonic times or Anglo-Saxon or Roman centurions. It was absolutely from the moment, from contemporary recent history.
I could be a tulip, I could be a man. The only way of knowing is to catch me if you can. You may suppose what you want to suppose, but I'm a sweet transvestite with a broken nose. I've got to be royalty, my blood must be blue. I'm king of the ring and queen of it too. Have you ever seen muscles on a rose? I'm just a sweet transvestite with a broken nose. I'll kiss you or I'll kick you, that's what I like the best. I'm as tough as Marciano and as sexy as Mae West.
Is that it shows how you deal with the end of industry. The wrestler dealt with it in his own way as an individual, whereas the union deals with it as a group of people. So Adrian, the wrestler, changed his life because he didn't want to be in the mines and just made a decision to transform himself and change before it was too late. So he in a way, he went to the future. He went to entertainment. He didn't want to fight to be a miner, to go on strike. He wanted to actually leave that world of industry and become the future. So, but it's two ways of dealing with the end of industry. I think, you know, obviously it has a political element, but it's not like an activist. An activist has a very narrow view and makes an artwork to change the world or to try and change your opinion about something. You know, they have a goal at the end of the artwork, which is to change something and to tell you something that they don't like. So it's more didactic maybe. I don't think my work is quite in that, like this. You can change people's opinions and change people, and then people change the world. So maybe it's part of the process. But Guernica did not end war. It's a great painting. So I think we have to be realistic about what art can achieve. You are a director. You can't play 1,000 people. You have to let people get on with it. You can't do everything. And I don't like being on camera particularly. I don't like doing this in a sense. You know, you just have to do it. But I'm much more interested in seeing what other people can do. Also, it'd be wrong for me to want to be part of some performances because I'm not a musician. I'm not a former miner. I'm not those people. So it'd be strange if I wanted to put myself in the picture and be some sort of narcissist or egomaniac wanting to be at the front of the riot or playing the drums or whatever. It's not, for me, that's not what I'm interested in.